Continue this discussion with the president of the Black Management Forum, Andile Nomlala. In June this year, Nomlala was quoted as saying black executives should not apply for senior positions at state-owned companies. This after the resignation of CEO Phakamani Hadebe. With me, joining me rather now in studio is the BMF president, Andile Nomlala. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Let's just first start here before we go back to the statement that you issued back then. Your reaction to the appointment of Andre?
My organization's reaction, Andre, is very simple, that we had expected, at the very least, that we would find at least a person that has a sounding and a convincing track record, because we understand the magnitude of the work that needs to be done at Eskom. So we were quite taken aback by the type of candidate we have found. His track record speaks for itself, and I had made phone calls during the day to try to talk to people that he has worked with. He was mediocre at Sasol. He actually was part of the Lake Charles disaster that was at Sasol. He took over from Nampak. Nampak was at 29 billion rands market capitalization on the JSE. He is now living at 5 billion rands. I'm sure the shareholders of Nampak, I should have actually checked the shares movement of Nampak. I'm sure the shareholders of Nampak are very pleased to see his back.
Well, actually, the ministry in their statement are actually thanking the board for releasing him.
Of Nampak.
This is Nampak's board for actually releasing him.
The board of Nampak wouldn't have waited a second not to release him. I mean, he came there 5 years ago, and he had run down literally the business. So he is now being resuscitated on some life support at Eskom, a very critical business in our economy, a very important entity that literally is holding the plight of our economy in its jaws. So it's quite surprising that any sober, sensible people would come to that conclusion of having a person of Andre's caliber as a CEO. I mean, the gentleman has been a CEO for 5 years. Imagine a company of Nampak size. It's a biggest, but when you look at its presence at the JSE, it's literally a 5 billion rands company. I think 5 billion rands is probably just overheads of Eskom in 1 month, and is now being given as a company of a magnitude of Eskom with no track record. It's unjustifiable.
But where else would they have found the perfect candidate?
Look, there were perfect candidates that I'm not going to get into the details.
Well, give us a name.
There were perfect
so that we can compare the candidates that you would have preferred.
There were perfect candidates on the top 3, and there was a black candidate in that top 3. In fact, I can tell you for free, Andrea, that there was no unanimous decision on the board. They had to actually scratch their heads to come up and get this mediocre candidate that they are representing.
What was the disagreement of the board?
It was about his credibility and credentials and whether he's fit for purpose or not. Did
it come down to a vote?
Look, I'm not going to get into that detail, but I'm telling you that the decision is not unanimous. If those board members of Eskom are honest enough, they will come and tell you that, because I was reliably told. Now,
do you know whether your CEO was amongst those who opposed his appointment?
Opposed?
Yeah.
Which CEO? Mine?
This is Busisi.
No, Busisi was the CEO of PLSA.
Sure, sorry, yes.
It's not I'm the president of BMF, and he has written a very complimentary statement towards the gentleman. So definitely she
wouldn't have been the person. Do you know who amongst the board members would have been the one or the ones who opposed his appointment?
Let me not be boggled down to the detail of that. It's information that is privileged that I have, but I'm just giving you a picture of what you need to know. Now, the other issue that we have as a concern is that now you leave the fact that this guy is completely a mediocre guy, then you come to the other factor that there has been a prevailing phenomena particularly at the DPE department under Minister Pravin Gordhan, that in the last 12 months that he has been at the helm of that enterprise, he has appointed no less than 5 white males that are CEOs. He even goes, fetches them overseas when he can't find suitable white males in South Africa. Now, the issue about
CEOs?
Yeah.
For which companies?
He has appointed the CEO of SA Technical. He's an expatriate, he's a white male. He was almost an artisan where he comes from, but here in South Africa he can be elevated to anything. You go check his credentials yourself. He has appointed a matriculant who was having academic fraud, who is linked to state capture, participated, and I'm sure you're going to see him at Zondo Commission very soon. And we are under the disguise that we are now looking for proper governance in state-owned enterprises, but we still find such characters. His name is Nico Bezendewood. He has found at least a person that had the necessary experience in the industry, which is the CEO, which is another white male, which is a CEO of Dinel. And the process that they underwent in appointing that person, I tell you, we met with Dinel, we asked them to show us the processes that they've underwent to select that candidate. They never did. And I can tell you, maybe their attitude is to not even know what Dinel is. Dinel is a state-owned enterprise, and as members of the public, we could even go and ask them with, how much do they buy.
Would you then argue that Andre was imposed on the board by the shareholder?
No. He was not imposed. He's a candidate that was in the process. We are not alleging any fraudulent processes, but all we are worried about...
Why do you make the link between Andre's appointment and the 4 other appointments?
I was giving you a list of these white males that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I was giving you a list. You asked me for the list of these white males that you're talking about.
But if there is a pattern, that would surely imply that these people are being imposed. Hence the pattern.
Look, I'm saying the pattern that I'm associating my statement with is the white messiahness of the CEOs that were being given. We see it as in the BMF, we see it that white males are being God sent, maybe by their ancestors.
It's fine, you can say that instead of saying God sent, they are being imposed. Because
obviously by the Minister of Public Enterprises and his grouping. And in fact, leave him alone. You could even argue, you just listen to the ANC now confirming that they have appointed that person. I had met with senior leadership of ANC, and some of them did tell me that actually they don't even get to these appointments. Some of these appointments don't even get to cabinet, let alone to Lutulu House. So there is, whatever that it is there, and I'm not interested in it. We are having a government that is running our state, and we are entrusting them with our future, and they find white males on the side of the road, and they make them CEOs of critical state-owned enterprises. And that's where our issue is at.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not a political party. I'm not trying to score cheap political points here. I'm a concerned South African citizen who is a black professional who goes to school like many other black professionals, who qualifies. The Employment Equity Report tells you the standing of black professionals, that they are as good as just to be managers. They never get to be executives.
Interesting that you actually mentioned that even within the ANC there was disagreement around this particular appointment.
Look, I'm saying to you, I haven't discussed this particular matter with the ANC. Don't put words
But you said you spoke to senior members.
I'm saying on other matters, it's not the first CEO that we've been dealing with. I'm telling you, on the other matters of the other white CEO males that have been appointed there have never been a consensus and a consultation either from Lutulu House or other CEOs were never even been seen by cabinet.
So not on this particular one?
I haven't interacted with them. I'm going to go see the ANC and ask this question in Lutulu House. There's nothing. ANC is a governing party.
Okay.
Anybody can walk in there and ask them to account.
Okay. Nevertheless, now that you've mentioned how some senior members of the party have responded to the appointment of other executives, white executives at that, I was listening to the NUM, and the NUM says, for instance, that they reject this particular appointment. Yet you just heard Kosatu saying that there was an agreement, and as Kosatu, they agree to this particular appointment, and they welcome the appointment of Andre de Ruyter as the leader of Eskom. So this just points to, in the alliance led by the ANC, there's disagreement to appointments that are being made at a senior level. Do you agree to that?
You would underestimate, Andrea, how other black leaders really praise and worship the grounds white people walk on. The reason why, as Stats SA has shown you, the report that they have shown you 4 days ago,
the
about
inequality
the
report,
plight of black people, and I'm talking Africans in particular, the plight of black people in our country, 25 years under the ANC government, is worse off. It hasn't transcended from the apartheid times. It's statistical, it's there. Do you know what the ANC government and the political party did? They didn't even comment on that report. Now, I don't want to get to ANC squabbles and politics and its alliances. The issue here is that us as citizens, we must keep our government accountable. We made the mistake here, Adre, of not doing the same during the Gupta. We were walking straight with our eyes wide open to a cliff by the very same government. By the very same government that liquidated its responsibility of leading our country to a mere mediocre legal family called the Guptas. And we must now allow them to again impose a white messiah system that all black people who are professionals, who are qualified, are inadequate, less access to requirements, purely because whites, only whites. Look at the Department of Public Enterprises. All 5 CEOs that have been appointed there are white males.
But is this not your wishes? You sent out a statement earlier this year after the resignation of Hadebe and after the resignation of Jahan as well. And you said that black executives should not be applying for these positions because these SOEs are slaughterhouses and are bad for the reputation of black executives.
I'm not going to be taking responsibility for the lack of ability of South Africans to read. If they go and read the statement of PMF, they will see it very clear. And by the way,
what does it say?
The statement says there are 6 issues that the government must decide about the state.
But in the meantime, until those issues are not being dealt with, the black executives must not be applying for those positions.
That's why I'm saying that I'm not responsible for journalists writing their own thing. The statement of PMF is there on record. I'm saying if these 6 items are not dealt with, it wouldn't make sense for black professionals to apply there.
Are those 6 issues dealt with?
They haven't.
So why should black executives apply?
But Kaloko, remember, immediately thereafter there was a consultation process where there was a commitment for those things to be addressed. And immediately in front of the public at the BMF conference, I then said, black people must take those opportunities. Now, don't be opportunistic about these things. We are dealing with very sensitive, pertinent national issues. Black people go to school, they qualify, our parents use the last cent for us to be qualified, suitable, and be proper, and you have a government that intends to advance the interest of our country in terms of black executives, and that they don't do that.
I accept that. I accept that, and we both can agree on that. The money that's being spent by black parents to try and get their kids into school and trying to get their kids way up there in these senior positions. But can you and I also then agree that those six points that you wanted to be implemented have not been implemented, and on the basis of the statement that you issued earlier this year, it doesn't make sense at all for a black executive to be applying for that position because they'll just end up like Jahan, they'll just end up like Hadebe.
Look, I'm saying, and I'm warning you, that let's not be trivialist in these type of discussions. The issue here is that we accept, remember, BMF is supposed to support this government, and at the same time we're supposed to be critical and contribute and to be constructive in our criticism. I'm saying to you that there was a commitment made out in public. Go read.
It wasn't fulfilled,
yeah? Go read the statement of the president line by line.
But it wasn't fulfilled.
It's similar to the statement of BMF.
But it's not fulfilled.
No, look, there was no timelines of its fulfillment.
But it's not fulfilled.
But I don't know the fact that it's not fulfilled indefinitely. I'm saying the commitment to fulfill it is not like you are asking a child to go and draw 20 rands. If he doesn't draw 20 rands, then it means something is not fulfilled. There was a commitment which we accept and support, but what we are saying now is that that commitment is outside the interest that we're trying to see, because we complained about Vuyani and Hadebe, because Phakamani Hadebe was made to look like a receptionist at Eskom by Minister Pravin Gordhan. He was hosting meetings with the executives at Eskom and management without the CEO knowing. He went to SAA, he wanted to appoint executives whilst there was a board. Now we are saying to you that we are sensitive to those issues, we were sensitive to them, and the continuation, which is a phenomena, a prevailing phenomena. We're not talking, Andre, in isolation of the other 5 white male CEOs. We are talking to them as a collective, that it seems to us that Hendrik Vervoet, who is an apartheid ancestor, seems to have defeated our own ancestors in heaven. When we pray as black professionals for a black executive to be appointed, we get sent a disciple by Hendrik Vervoet in heaven to become a white messiah to run the CEOs in the land of the living. That's what we have a problem with.
Do you think the future looks bleak for Andre?
Look, I don't wish him.
Considering the unions, that he needs to have those soft skills to negotiate with the unions around the restructuring of Eskom?
Remember, Andre, I don't have to be malicious about the interest of the country. It's quite important that Eskom is put in the right footing. But that candidate, remember, you can't expect like we did in the past, where you know beforehand that the person is inadequate to the requirements, and you expect that person to turn water into wine. That's what is going to happen there.
Okay. Let's see whether the wine will be tasty at all. That was the president of the Black Management Forum, Andile Nomlala.